are some rules in a chess game that we all know. We all know we have to develop pieces. We don't have to give up strong piece for weak piece. And we all know that what is the good knight, bad bishop, good bishop. But there are some more rules, and for some reason, a lot of authors of the books and tapes, they fail to explain about piece coordination more than they did. What I mean by that, piece coordination, it's the most important, I think it's the most important tool once you learned the ABC of chess, how to coordinate pieces. Pieces have to work together, and don't anybody underestimate the power of combined effort of pieces. When pieces work together, they double, sometimes even triple their value. Well, they increase the value of their own value, and that's very important. And that's important in attack, in defense, in positional play, in tactical play, and everywhere. So that's what I want. I'm gonna try to explain how the top players, how do they think. Now they don't think about doing this, they do it subconsciously. So they know this piece belongs here, this piece belongs here. It's like their formula. It's like we don't think how much 2 times 3 or 2 plus 2. So they know it. They know how pieces have to work. How about however, less experienced people, they said, well, let's just develop this there. And when they play on one side of the board, that's when a lot of authors in a lot of books, they say, oh, you have to be consistent. That's 100% truth. But consistency means if your pieces are coordinated, have coordinated effort. Now, I'm describing what consistency means. When your pieces have coordinated effort on one side of the board, we cannot play different plan on the other side of the board because pieces are not coordinated there. Pieces coordinated in one area, and you have to be logically you have to pick where they have to coordinate, where you have more chances and your pieces are superior on that part of the board comparing to your opponent's pieces. This is very, very important. This is the vital part of the game, and there is no way you can underestimate it. And if you learn, and that goes, actually this rule goes for everybody. If you master how to have your pieces coordinated the best way, this rule goes from players rated maybe 1,000 or 1,100 all the way to 2,800. Well, but 20 difference is they have the same rule, but they know it. So they still have room to improve there, because well they know this. For example, there is a rule we know. Rule says that in the end game, rook and bishop normally is better than rook and knight, and we understand that. But also we know the queen and knight better than queen and bishop. And why do I have to follow this rule if I don't understand why? Because queen and knight, they coordinate better, because knight can go to squares, queen cannot go from certain positions. But queen and bishop are not as strong, because queen and bishop go the same way. Bishop goes diagonally, so does the queen. So coordinated effort is very important. If you think about it, it will make a lot of sense. And that's why when you play game, that's what you have to be concentrating for. First two games I want to discuss, they were played by former world champion Boris Spassky. Now, Boris Spassky was known to play he loved to attack and he played very active position. Well, but that does not, whether you can play this, it does not depend on your will to play so. He was master of playing very dynamic chess, and he had great ability to coordinate his pieces. They work together as a team. And next couple of examples are showing it clearly. This he played against in Canadian Open in 1971 against Derek Banks. E4, D5, ED, Knight F6. I don't want to make much emphasis on the openings, but we just go through the openings very quick because that's not our purpose. Bishop B5, Bishop D7, Bishop C4, Bishop G4, F3, and Bishop F5. Knight C3, Knight BD7. Well, the best move according to theory is G4, but in the game Spassky played on after Knight BD7, Knight E2, Knight B6, D3, Knight F takes D5. Now, black got their pawns back, but they are slightly behind, maybe in development. Knight takes D5, Knight takes D5. Knight G3 by white. Queen D7. And white castled. Now, next move is played by black. I consider it is very, very bad move. Black played H5. And I am strongly suggesting anyone not to play this move. Move like this when you did not complete your development. Your bishop on F8, you don't know where you're gonna castle. Your rook on H8 and A8, and you cannot go H5. What are you gonna do? You're gonna go H4, H3, and checkmate black king? That works only in movies, in fairy tales. But this is a really, really bad move. H5, D4. Now black castles. White plays bishop B3. White wants to go C4. After bishop B3, H4, knight E4. And now black decides for some reason to continue development. For some reason it's more, it's like sarcastic way, but what is H5 and H4 has to do with normal development. Okay, after E6, Queen E2, and after, well, in this position, when white played Queen E2, white has a plan of going C4 and bishop E3 and attack on the queen side. Black played F6, also unclear what is it for in this F6. C4, knight B6, actually this was position. F6, C4, knight B6, and bishop E3. You see that white perfectly developed, and black, they don't know where to put the bishop on F8. They don't know what to do with H-pawn, because H-pawn and rook, these are two pieces practically are aiming on white's king, and that's not enough. It's not even a piece, it's a pawn. And on H3, white can simply go G3 or G4. And black is very far from creating any threats on the king side. So bishop e7 was played, rook fd1. You see, great attacking players, people that like initiative, you will never see them go h4, g4, and making psychotic attempt like h4. In order to be successful in some attack, you have to have enough firepower aiming on opponent's position. And after rook f2 d1, white is intending to play rook a2 c1, and they have, if you can tell, knight may go to c5, so knight is very close to black's king position. Bishop is aiming also on diagonal. This bishop is standing well, also prepared, and not to mention two rooks on c1 and d1. They are very well positioned for attack. And black has no pieces coordinated on the king side for for any action of this kind. So white didn't play rook a to c1, but after rook f2 d1, black played queen e8, bishop f2, and there goes g5 for black. White played a4. Now, Spassky did not play rook a c1 because he plays a4. He doesn't know how the game will develop. Maybe he can use his rook on a file. So after a4, queen g6, h3. You see, black now realizes that white is going to go a5, d5, open position, and it's going to become very bad. Black is absolutely desperate because white's beautiful position of white's pieces. Black is absolutely desperate and played g4, h takes g, bishop takes e4. And this is actually, I have to tell you, very important point here. Frequently I have asked question, well, how would I know whether I should play this position with queens on the board or queens off the board? It's very simple here. In this case, if you take with a pawn, you have much more superior piece position. And if you go c5 followed by d5, you're going to have, or even c5 followed by c6 and queen a6, you have great opportunity of conducting very successful attack on opponent's king. You don't want to exchange queens in this position. However, even after exchanging queen, white has solid advantage, I think. But f takes e is correct decision. Knight d7. Now c5 was played. Practical threat is c6 or maybe d5, not to mention bishop takes e6. Black, in my opinion, is totally lost here. Knight f8, d5. c6 was not bad either. c6 was another very good attempt, and on b takes c, rook c1 followed by queen a6. But you cannot, of course, criticize d5 move. So d5 was played, rook g8, and now d6. That's the fine point of the game. After d6, c takes d, c takes d, and rook takes d6. Why did white sacrifice this pawn? You see, as I mentioned, bishop aiming on queen side, queen aiming on queen side. So, and rook is coming to c1. Every white's piece coordinated on pressure on black's king. Meanwhile, queen on g6, rook on g8, knight on f8 are absolutely total spectators, and in this position no one can see all the way through when you went there. But that's intuition says a ground rules of chess say when you have such a overpowered position, there should be a winning solution. After rook takes d6, rook ac1 check, king to d8, rook takes d6, bishop takes d6. Now it's just a matter of time when white will get black's king. So queen d1 was played. It's very concrete solution. And on king e7, logical conclusion of the domination of white's pieces. e5. That moves is absolute killer. Black must play bishop takes e5, because if pawn takes e5, after bishop takes h4, you can see that there is no way of getting out. If king goes on f7, bishop is hanging, and if king goes to d7, it stands on the file with the queen. So after simple queen f3, there is not much left to play. Threatening queen takes b7, and on e4 maybe queen c3, threatening queen c8 mate. Black's pieces are totally helpless. So bishop takes e5 was played. Now bishop c5 check. Everything else is forced. It's simple tactics, and the way Spassky won this game, it's not because he found this combination. There are multiple ways. So the easiest ways, what he did was bishop takes e6. You cannot play knight takes e6 because of queen d7 is a simply checkmate. So king takes e6 was played, queen b3 check, and on king d7, queen takes b7 check, and on king e6, rook d1, threatening queen c8 with a checkmate, or queen d5 a checkmate, queen d5 most probably, and after rook d1, queen takes g4, and after queen d5 check, black resigned, because on king f5, rook f1 check, black's king has to go to g file, and then black loses most of its material. So this was very well played game by Boris Spassky. But you see, the top players in the world, they they don't put great effort in this game, in the games like this, because they already know how pieces should coordinate, and they do not think whether to do that or not. They are thinking only what is the best way of coordinating the pieces, and they know how it should work. This was very, very good example.